So today we're going to look at parallel and perpendicular lines. Okay, so looking at our graph here, we have two lines, and this is an example of parallel lines. Parallel lines have the same steepness, or steepness is also called slope. And parallel lines never cross or intersect. Okay, so they never cross or intersect. In the example, both graphs have the same m. Remember, m is slope. And if we look here, I'll highlight them. So we've got the m in front of here is a half, and the m in front of here is a half. So they have m equals a half. And this is always the case. So parallel lines always have the same slope. So if one line has a steepness or a slope of 3, the parallel line will also have the steepness or slope of 3. Right. Okay, so example 1 says determine the equation of a line. So I want to find an equation of a line parallel to y equals 2x plus 3, and it goes through the point 2, 5. Okay, so I'm determining an equation of a line. Remember, last class we used y equals mx plus b. Okay, so first thing we found was our slope. Okay, and our slope, it's telling us it's parallel to y equals 2x plus 3. So parallel means to have the same slope. So that means that m equals 2. So we've figured out the first part. Now, the second piece, just as in last class, the second piece is to use the point that they've given us. Okay, so far we have y equals, and our m is now 2x plus b. I don't know what the y-intercept for this line is, but I can use our ordered pair, 2, 5, and I'm going to substitute in, wherever I see an x, I'm going to substitute in a 2. Wherever I see a y, I'm going to substitute in a 5. So I end up with 5 equals 2 multiplied by 2 plus b. And just because I run out of room, I have 5 equals 2 multiplied by 2 is 4 plus b. Now I'm trying to solve for b, so I need to get b all by itself. So I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides, and I get 1 equals b. I'm trying to determine the equation of a line. I know what the slope is. Slope is 2. Okay, and I know what b is. B is 1. So I get m, which is 2, multiplied by x plus 1. And that's the equation of our line. Alright, let's do another one. Example 2 says determine the equation of a line that is parallel to y equals negative 2/5 x minus 1 and has the y-intercept negative 3. Alright, so first thing we know, slope. It's parallel to y equals negative 2 over 5 x minus 1. So if they're parallel, their slopes are the same. The slope of this line is negative 2/5. So I found my first piece. The second thing it tells me is there's a y-intercept, which is equal to negative 3. Well, remember in y equals mx plus b, b is our y-intercept. So they've been nice enough to just give us b equals negative 3. Alright, well that's great news because I already know that m is 2/5. I also know that b is 3. So I'm going to substitute those in there. Y equals negative 2 over 5x minus 3. That's my equation of my line. I'm done. So our goal is to use the two pieces of information in the word problem to create the equation of the line. That was our goal for the first two questions. All right, our next thing that we're going to do. All right, so we've got a graph here, and it looks a little bit different than our other one. What I want you to notice is that there's two lines, and there is a 90-degree angle in here. Okay, so the graph on the right-hand side is an example of perpendicular lines. Perpendicular. And then lines, I'm running out of room there. Perpendicular lines intersect each other at a 90-degree angle. The slopes of the lines are opposite of each other. So this means that, notice if I look at the slope, so I've got a slope up here, which is half, and my slope over on the other one is -2. So this means the signs are different. Notice that this one is negative and this one is positive. So the slope, this means the signs are different, and the coefficients are reciprocals. Reciprocals. Remember, reciprocal means to flip. So we say that their slopes are the negative reciprocal. So I'm going to put a big star here. Hopefully we all remember this. The slopes of perpendicular lines, perpendicular, are negative reciprocals. Okay, so again, just to finish this off, in the graph to the left, the slope of y equals -2x minus 2, right? The slope is -2, and the slope of y equals 1/2 x plus 3 is 1/2. Now, if I just look at -2, remember any number can be written over 1. If I was going to find the negative reciprocal, so a negative times a negative becomes a positive, and then I reciprocate, so this becomes 1/2. Oh, look, this is the same as that, +1/2. Okay? All right, example 3. Determine the slope of a perpendicular line to y equals -2/5x minus 1. All right, so the slope of our line is equal to -2/5. Okay? Now, I'm going to find the perpendicular line. This little thing here means perpendicular, just so that you can tell the two different m's apart. Okay? Now, first thing I'm going to negate the original slope. So I get a negative times a negative, which is positive. To reciprocate means to flip, 5/2. The slope of line perpendicular to y equals -2/5x minus 1 is 5/2. Now, of course, they're going to get harder, right? So the next example, we're going to determine the equation of the line that goes through the point 3, 0, and where its slope is perpendicular to y equals -2/5x minus 1. So we're trying to determine the equation of a line. So just as we've done before, I'm going to start with slope, because I can figure out slope. I know that the slope of my line up above is equal to -2/5. The perpendicular, remember that thing means perpendicular. The perpendicular slope, a negative times a negative is positive, and we reciprocate, so we flip, so we get +5/2. So the first thing that I figured out now is y equals 5/2x plus b. Now I'm going to use the point that they gave me. They gave me 3, 0. Wherever I see an x, I'm going to substitute in 3. Wherever I see a y, I'm going to substitute in 0. So I get 0 equals 5/2 multiplied, actually I like the brackets better, 3 plus b. Now remember, any number can be written over 1. So I'm going to do that because I'm going to multiply fractions, just so I don't confuse myself. 5 multiplied by 3 is 15. 2 multiplied by 1 is 2. So I end up with 15 divided by 2 plus b. Now I'm trying to solve for b. So I need to isolate b. I need to move 15 over 2. So I'm going to subtract 15 over 2 from both sides, which gives me negative 15 over 2 equals b. Alright, this means that I now have my slope, right? My slope is here, and I have my y-intercept. Remember, our equation is y equals mx plus b. Y equals, my slope is 5 over 2 multiplied by x plus, and it's a plus minus, so it'll become a minus, so I'm going to do minus 15 over 2. And that's the equation of my line. Okay, we're going to do one more. Determine the equation of a line. So we're trying to figure out the equation of a line, where the line has a x-intercept of 6 and is perpendicular to this line. Well, perpendicular right away tells us about slope. We like to start with slope. Alright, so the slope of the line y equals 3x plus 4, m equals 3. But my line is perpendicular to it, so I need to find the perpendicular slope. Now, it's a negative reciprocal. Remember, I can write any number over 1. Okay, so a positive times a negative will become negative, and I'm going to flip to take the reciprocal. So my slope of this is going to be negative 1/3. Well, that's great, because now I have y equals mx plus b. I know that m is negative 1/3. And they did tell me a second piece of information. I have to do a little work with this, though. It tells me the x-intercept. Now, if you don't know what it is, well, let's put up our Cartesian plane, and the x-intercept is 6. So, I don't know, it's somewhere over here, right? It's positive, so it's a little bit of an estimation here, but this is my graph. Now, I want to know what this point is, right? Because we've been using a point to substitute in. Well, I've gone over in the right direction 6, and I've gone up 0. So the point that I'm going to use is 6, 0, which means wherever I see an x, I'm going to substitute in 6. Wherever I see a y, I'm going to substitute in 0. So I end up with 0 equals negative 1/3 multiplied by 6 plus b. Remember to write any number. It can be written as over 1, and we like to do this because we're working with fractions. And notice that 3 and 6, I can reduce these, so reduce them. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. I'm left with 0 equals negative 2. Now, it's divided by 1 multiplied by 1, which is 1, and I don't need to write that. So I just write plus b. I'm trying to solve for b. So I'm adding 2 to both sides. I get 2 equals b. Excellent! I now have my slope. I now have my y-intercept. I can write my equation. Y equals mx plus b. Y equals m is negative 1/3. B is 2. That's my solution. And we're done.